Hello and welcome to the Learning Crypto YouTube channel. In this video, we are featuring Atom, taking a look at some potential buy areas and TP areas for the bull run in both the USDT and the BTC pairs. So if you enjoy our content, please do like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out massively and we really do appreciate it. And of course, helps you ensure that you do not miss out on any future uploads. And finally, nothing in this video should constitute as financial advice. So let's get straight into the charts. We last covered Atom back on the 20th of November, and to be honest, not much has really changed since that analysis. So same weekly range, as you can imagine. Weekly range high at $15.78, weekly range low at $6.24, mid-range coming in at $11. And I remember, so we were back here around 20th November, this weekly candle here, and I was talking about the importance of Atom getting a weekly close above this weekly mid-range of $11, holding it at support to then continue as the weekly range high. But as you can see, this weekly mid-range held as resistance and we have rejected off it. So if we take a little zoom in, we have pulled back from these highs of about $12.55. We've pulled back about 27%, which is a nice retracement, especially if you're getting a bit of FOMO, the fact that you'd missed the weekly range low and you thought we were going to come up to the range high and break out. Getting a little bit of FOMO here, you've had that pullback. So now is probably a pretty decent time to be looking at building that position or adding to it if you've already got one from lower, especially, as I say, after that little FOMO rally. If we take a quick look at a fib, in fact, I've already got one on here, and you can see that we've, oh, don't want that one. We zoom in, you can see from the bottom to the top of the rally, you see we've already tagged that 618 coming in at about $8.60. Now we may retrace a little bit further, potentially down to the 786, which is about $7.50, and you can see this level of previous weekly resistance, which should act as support, create a higher low from this weekly range low, and then we could be off to the races. So as I say, if you've done your research, you like the project, I think anywhere between here and $7.50, where that 786 is, and that weekly level of support, pretty good area to be dollar cost averaging, especially when we zoom out and just take a look at the risk to reward. As I've been saying in these videos, since the end of last year, we are much closer to the bottom than we are the top. So the risk reward really is there. So if we take a look at what a run from here to that weekly range high alone is, still a 70% run, which isn't too bad. You might want to consider taking profits there, taking a little bit off the table in case we get another rejection. However, that being said, I think it's very likely that the next time we come up and test this weekly range high of $15 will be the breakout. So maybe not. If we do break out, let's take a look at the TP areas that I highlighted in the previous video. So first one would be up here at about $20. Maybe front run that slightly, get in just before, big psychological number, maybe take some profits around 19. But you can see from the chart structure, clear level of weekly support and resistance all the way through its history. Most recently, strong support here in December 2021 and February 2022 before we broke that and broke underneath it. We've not come back for a retest since. Let's take a look at what that first retest would be. So as I say, probably quite likely that we reject off that on the first time of asking. 126%. Now what we may do is come up to this level, as I say, about $20, reject. First big test of this level as resistance for since April 2022. Reject, maybe come back down for a bullish retest of the weekly range high at $15, make that higher low, and then continue. So that's why we talk about potentially take some profits along the way so that you can reload and buy those dips, but also just to take some profits onto the side, whether you want to use it for, buying yourself something nice or put it aside for taxes or maybe diversify into other projects. Taking profits means you have options. But as I say, the other thing we talk about on the Learning Crypto is potentially having a swing bag. So if you've got your spot bag, take 10, 15, 20% of that. If you're really feeling the need to try and capitalize on the big swings and the volatility of the market, take a small percentage out, as I say, 10, 15, 20%, and try and play the swing. So sell resistance, buy support. And this, I think, would be a good area to sell around about $20, get that bullish retest of 15 if you're lucky enough. And that would be a nice little retracement of about 25%. You can reload and hopefully ride up with a bigger bag. Let's move on to TP2. Looking at around $28, again front running that big psychological number of $30, and you can see big level of resistance here back in May 2021, a lot of support as well before we finally broke it in April 2022 and started that big leg down all the way down to the bottom. So let's take a look at what a return from today's prices up to around that $29-30 area will be. It's a 200% return, not too bad at all. Final two TPs, pretty obvious areas. You've got this area up here around $37.50. Again, resistance here. Not the first time of asking, we blasted through it. However, when we came back up to try and break the all-time highs again here at the 25th of October, 1st of November week, struggled to break it as resistance. And even here on the second time of asking in December of 21 and January 2022, found a bit of resistance. Finally got a weekly close above it in January, but that marked the top. And then that was it. And then you can see we actually got another retest of it as resistance at the end of January 2022. So big level, in my opinion, should see some profit taken there. Let's take a look at what a return to that would be. That's a 300% return from today's prices. And then finally, the all-time highs up here at $44. A return to those prices from today, you are looking at just shy of 400%, so about 385% return. So as I say, much closer to the bottom than the top. A nice area to be dollar cost averaging in my opinion, in the lower half of this range. And as I say, we're currently around the 618 retracement from the most recent rally. Might make it down to about $7.50 where the 786 is. So yeah, in fact, let's just take a look at what a return from that 786 retracement area at $7.50 would be back to all-time highs. You're looking at 500% there. So as I say, much closer to the bottom than the top. Good time if you've done your research on the project and you like it. Not financial advice, of course, but to be dollar cost averaging between here and that $7.50. So let's take a look at the BTC side of things. And if we zoom out, we're on the monthly time frame for this one. Big range, monthly range high 8,500 sats, monthly range low about 1,800 sats, and the monthly mid range coming in about 5,200 sats. And as you can see, it's pretty much been in this range for its entire existence. So yeah, not much to talk about on the monthly. If we go down to the weekly, you can see we are coming very, very close to these monthly range lows. And in fact, that was the case back on our last video, as I say, about 20th of November. We've not really moved too much, but we are coming down towards those monthly range lows. So again, the risk reward here is fantastic in my personal opinion. If you've done the research, you like the project. If we take a look at the TPs, there's not too many. Back to the weekly. I remember my first TP talking about it on the video was actually the monthly range highs, because a return just to the monthly range highs alone is a 300% move on your Bitcoin, which is a fantastic return. As I say, risk to reward certainly in your favor. So have a look out for that. At the next TP, we'd actually be up here at 12,791 sats. So if we just take a look at the weekly, you can see it's the highest weekly candle wick, excluding the first weekly candle wick, which I always don't look at because that's when it's listed on the exchange and all sorts of crazy price action happens there, lots of bots and stuff like that. But when it finally was out for a few weeks, stabilized, found a decent price, this was the highest weekly wick. So that's definitely where I'd be looking to take some profits. We take a look at what a return from today's prices up to there. You're looking at a 500% return on your Bitcoin, which is fantastic. Now, if we zoom out a little bit, let's go to the monthly. And let's take a look at some fib extensions for some potential, if we break out of this range, where we might end up seeing price go. So we'll whack the fib on from the bottom to the top. We'll make sure that is visible on the monthly. There we go. Switch to the monthly, and we can see the fib extension. So we've got one here, the 1.618. coming in at around 20,000 sats. Again, you might want to front run that slightly. Big psychological level. So take some profits around 19,000 sats. Let's take a look at what a return to those prices from here would be. That would be a huge 750 plus percent return on your Bitcoin. Now, are we going to get up there? Who knows? Of course, we only topped out at about 10,000 sats in the last cycle. All depends on what happens with alt's strength versus Bitcoin. Maybe we get some super alt season and that kind of things happens, or maybe Atom ends up being an outlier and outperforms the rest of the altcoin market, which has happened in the past. Things like BNB and Matic did that in the last cycle. So maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, but that looks like a pretty good area. I would also look at potentially taking some at big round numbers. So if we were to make these all-time highs above 10,000 sats, maybe look at taking some at 12,500 sats, 15,000 sats, etc., or maybe 12,000, 14,000, 16,000 sats, etc. So don't want to give too much FOMO or hopium. Might not happen. We may not even break out of this monthly range. But just to give you some idea of the risk to reward, as I say, much closer to the bottom than the top. But make sure you've got a plan for the bull run. Set yourself some profit taking levels, whether it's chart based, whether it's psychological number based, or whether it's just based on where you've invested, what your average buying price is, and then every time that doubles. So let's just say you've been investing in Atom and you've got an average buy price of say $7. Maybe you want to take profits at $14, $21, $28, etc. So completely up to you how much profit you want to take, when you want to take them, but just make sure you have that plan in place before the emotions of a bull market take over. So hope you enjoyed the video. Drop in the comments below, are you invested in Atom? What prices have you bought in? What prices are you targeting? And also drop in the comments below any suggestions you'd like to see for videos in the future. But for now, have a good weekend and I'll catch you on the next one.